Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be showing you how to repot a Phalaenopsis. So I'm not only going to be doing that, but I'm going to be actually potting up all of them together. I have 4 with me. I'm only going to be showing 3. That's all I can hold at the moment. But I'm going to kind of make a clump of Phalaenopsis. These are all the same breed. They're all Untitled King's Caroline, little zebra, one of my absolute favorites. So we're going to go ahead and take them out. I'm going to show you every step of what I'm going to be doing, and it usually works for me. And so let's go ahead and get started. So we have our orchids, some shears that have been washed and sanitized as well as burned as well. Usually what I like to do is, it sounds kind of funny to most people, but I'll wash these and then I'll take like hand sanitizer and I kind of like just go like that. And I'll sanitize them, and then I put them over an open flame. And then usually sometimes the hand sanitizer will like catch fire and turn a blue color. Just kind of keep going through it like that over a flame until the flame runs out and it's no longer on the scissors. So these are ready to go. I also have clay pot here. I'm gonna be putting them in. I noticed that they need a lot of space, so I got a big clay pot here. I also have a ton of sphagnum moss. So we're gonna be using this. This is pretty damp. It's not very dry. That's good. So make sure when you do go to repot your Phalaenopsis, a lot of people miss this step. They will go to Lowe's or Home Depot and they'll buy a big thing. It's usually about that tall, and it's sphagnum moss, but it's really dry. The problem with that is you don't want to repot it with that sphagnum moss being that dry. It will not hold any water, so you can water and water and water it as much as you want. It's not going to retain as well as it should, and most of the time your Phalaenopsis orchids are going to die. They don't like that. They don't prefer those kinds of mediums. They usually like it nice and soaked and wet. So that's my suggestion. I've seen people get lucky where they just take the moss straight from the bag that they got from Home Depot and put it in there in water, and they do okay, but that's probably because they're already in a humid environment. So the moss will stay relatively moist, but here in Vegas it gets so dry here. It's basically hair dryer weather when it gets hot, so I can't do that. My moss has to be wet. So let's go ahead and take some of our moss here and put it into our pot. So putting it into the pot, I like to kind of break it apart a little bit, only a little bit. We don't want lots of like little bits because they'll kind of compact together and it becomes like a solid mass, and we don't want that. I noticed doing that, they'll compact together and the roots won't be able to go down any further for some reason because it just gets so tough. So I don't want to go down too far. I'd say about halfway. And don't push down on the soil. We don't want to compact it. Just enough. All right, now that should be good. So it's about that high up from the pot, so about halfway. Go ahead and set that off to the side. Now we have our Phalaenopsis orchid here. It's very much root bound. Take that off. Now what we want to do is we want to kind of press around the roots. We don't want to actually like crush them, but the roots are quite resilient, so as long as you get it out of the pot, it should be okay. They can usually take a little bit of pressure, just like that. All right, so the first thing to do when you're going to be repotting your Phalaenopsis is looking for dead roots. So what I like to do is I like to like look here. We can see that we have a dead root. Go ahead and cut that. Cut that off, we don't need it. Everything else looks relatively healthy actually, so we can probably go ahead and use it. As you can see, we do have new roots starting in, so we want to use these. This is the best time to repot it. Anytime you have a Phalaenopsis that needs to be repotted, check your roots first. If you have a bunch of like, just kind of like dark green, this is kind of light green. You have like dark green growths like this and you don't have any new, maybe not the right time to repot it, but when you get like new growth like this, really bright, light lime green, that's the best time. So another thing too, looking at it, we have a flower spike, but the flower spike, as we can see, it's faded, and we do have some healthy nodes. So what we can do is we can cut right here, about 1/4 of an inch to a 1/2 inch up, there. And then what I like to do is I like to remove the nodes. So I kind of start off at the side, like right here, kind of pick at it, pick at it, pick at it, and then pull it down. But make sure not to damage the new node. You can see that there. You can see how it's kind of like sticking up there. You can even do it with another node too if you want to. If you're feeling like, oh, you know, maybe it might flower down below too, go ahead, try it. So I'm just gonna take that off. There we go. So that's good to go. But what we also want to do is, of course, we want to clear out some of this moss. Best thing I like to do is kind of just pull, just kind of tug a little bit, see where the roots are going. And then we can start pulling. When we have a clear side like this, just start pulling off some of the moss. You can reuse it. I'm not recommending that you do, but it can be done. You can reuse old moss, but I tend to kind of, if I do, I kind of mix it in with my new moss and I let it sit elsewhere. I don't put it directly back with this plant. I don't feel like that's very healthy for it. So I kind of let everything kind of bind up together and let it all sit together for a month or so before I use it. But that's just me. You don't have to reuse it. Most people just like to use brand new moss, but hey, I've seen nurseries reuse their mosses over and over again and their orchids do fantastic. Doesn't matter. Okay, now honestly, this is pretty much good to go. So it looks like you're probably thinking, oh my God, you didn't clear all the roots. I've noticed from repotting my orchids that when I do this and I clear away all of this moss, it kind of makes the plant sick, because doing these is kind of like, these are going to be the lead roots that are going to go down even more. These are the ones that are going to take hold. This moss here is kind of holding the plant together. I don't like to touch this mass up here because this is kind of like the seedling soil that it was grown in for a long time. I don't like to disturb that. So, but once I disturb the bottom roots, that's kind of all I do. I like to just aggravate this and I'm basically done. I'm going to set that to the side in the pot. Now I'm just going to do it with the rest of these, and I'll come back to you when it's all finished. So now we have them all pot up in this little pot here. I made sure to kind of pull them apart a little bit to make sure they got enough room. You want to make sure they're not kind of competing with each other if you decide to do a clump like this. I was looking at it and you probably could do like maybe 3 would be better in here, but I'm gonna try 4. So kind of just to see if I can get kind of like one big clump all together. That's kind of what I'm going for here. Now I'm going to take our new soil and, well, our new moss and start packing it in. Now with this, you do want to kind of get in every single root. So anytime you see like an opening, place it in there and kind of just try to spread it all the way through, just like that. So just spread it, compact it a little bit, but don't compact too much, just enough. Something to keep in mind here is that you don't need to cover everything completely on the sides. That would kind of suffocate a little bit. We gotta also take into consideration that this is a clay pot. It will hold moisture. So if you miss a couple spots here and there, it won't kill the plants. So as long as it has enough moss just to hold it in place and it's getting proper water, it's all good to go. So let's go ahead and keep filling and I'll show you the finished product. I'll be back in one moment. All right, everyone, so we are all done now. Got all of it filled up with the moss, got it on every side, put it in the middle, everything like that. So it seems to me like they're pretty okay. I made sure that none of them are really getting overcrowded so that they can all get light and they're not gonna be really competing or anything like that. Now, all I have to do is give them a good soaking. Best kind of method to water these right now, since they are Phalaenopsis and now that they're all clumped together, I would recommend getting a kind of like a thin spout and kind of just going in the center, like about right here, and just watering it. That way they'll all go through. Because if you go in with the shower nozzle or something like that, it's probably going to get inside of the actual leaves and it could cause like a crown rot. We don't want that. You can see how this one itself is sitting into kind of like the moss layer. If I were to pour water directly in here, it would kind of like resonate and stay right in there, and we don't want that. So, but that's pretty much it. Another thing too, I noticed that the leaves were a little dirty. I did go ahead and kind of wash them up a little bit. So that's something that I noticed that YouTubers really don't talk about when they're talking about plant care or orchid care. Leaves are very important for the plant. They, provide energy by conducting photosynthesis. So another important thing is to make sure that your leaves are clean, free of debris, because the more dusty and dirty they get, they aren't going to be able to do their task as well as they would be able to in nature. Because in nature, they're constantly getting rained on and it's constantly cleaning them. So you do want to make sure to clean them off every once in a while. All right, everyone. So that's it for this video. I'm going to go ahead and set this back out in my greenhouse and water the center of these and just make sure it all runs out through and nice and cleanly. It's not going to be stagnating and just sitting on top of the surface here. Just make sure it's going to be absorbed and coming out the bottom. But that's it. That's it for this video. I hope you guys found it resourceful and helpful in your orchid endeavors. So that's pretty much it. And lighting problem. So that's it for now, guys. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. Make sure to give me a like, as always. And always make sure to subscribe. I've noticed that a lot of my viewers have been non-subscribers. So if you want to go ahead and hit that subscribe and that bell icon for more videos, I'll be making a lot more videos like this. So if you want help with your gardening ideas or maybe some reviews, just like the one I did for the La Prairie and other things like that, I have way more videos to come. I got a lot of interests, a lot of hobbies, so stay up to date with me. And, thank you all so much for those who are subscribing and watching my videos. It really means a lot. But that's it, everyone. So make sure to subscribe, like, comment, and as always, thank you so much. Happy growing. Stay safe out there with COVID. Get your vaccines if you haven't gotten it yet. Stay safe out there, everyone. And that's it for now. I will see you guys on the next video. Happy growing. See you on the next one.